Good morning.
Morning.
Beautiful day, right?
Amen.
Because God is with us. If you don't have a Bible, grab one back there. And today's passage is Numbers, chapter 13. Only today's passage is here up there. So if you can have your own Bible, then let's read with your Bible. So verse 25 through 33, we're going to read this. Makes sense. So at the end of the 40 days, they returned from exploring the land. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and to the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account: "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit.
But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw the descendants of Kang there."
The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country, and the Canaanites live near the sea and along the Jordan.
Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, "We should go out and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." But
the man who had gone up with him said, "We cannot attack those people. They are stronger than we are."
And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land, and they explored. They said, "The land is explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size."
Let's read together.
We saw them handling the descendants of Anak and from Ephraim.
We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. 2 weeks ago, I preached that good encounters and mission discovery is very important to become a history maker. And most of all, we should meet God in our life and discover His will toward us, which is our vision and which is our call. So today, I want to add one more element, which is very important also to become a history maker. That is the positive image of our own selves. So Moses elected the 12 leaders from the Israelites and sent them to explore the land. The 12 were leaders, selected from each tribe. Joshua was one of them. And then he met Moses and learned from Moses. But most of all, he discovered his mission, his calling, while he fulfilling his first mission to spy the land. Right? So today's text is the scene that the 12 spies returned and reported to the Moses and Aaron and the whole Israel community. It took how many days? 40 days. You guys didn't go to the Sunday school. So Hani took them to the Sunday school after service and teach them. Right? So it took 40 days. In those days, there was no stealth, and no satellites, and no phone tapping. So the only way is to go there and explore themselves. So, and then moreover, there was no car, no public transportation, no train, in those days. They just walked. Right? So that's why it took that long. 40 days, and it's not a short time, right? So all people just waited there, right? 40 days while doing nothing, right? So they were all anxious to hear from them, right? But after they came back, after they returned, they report, we went into deep land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Whoa. That's good news. Yeah. They came here for that, right? But as you know, that was it. After that report, up to there, they all agreed up to this point. But after that, they split up. Not even numbers. 12 divided by 2, 6, right? So not 6 to 6. What was the ratio? 10 to 2, right? So the 10 continued. They said that it does fall with milk and honey, but they said, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified, and very large. So we even saw descendants of Anak there. Now Anak seemed to be very famous in those days for his size, big size, and his strength. Maybe like a Samson. Actually, Goliath, whom David fought against, seemed to be the descendants of Anak. So big, people. So what was their conclusion? What was their conclusion? Verse 31. Verse 31 says, okay, we can't attack those people. They are stronger than us. That judgment is not that wrong. Those cities were fortified. And the people there were big and strong, seems to be. The fight doesn't seem to be easy. But the bigger problem was not from the situation. It was from within. It was from themselves. Their self-image was the biggest problem. So they even saw themselves as grasshoppers. You know grasshoppers? Did you see grasshoppers? So many, grasshoppers. Maybe she knows that from the Disney movie, A Bug's Life. And I remember the scene that in that movie, grasshoppers went down into the ant tunnel since there was no food, right? And then the hopper, big guy, the commander, says, one of those cycles of life kinds of things. Now let me tell you how things are supposed to work. The sun grows the food. Elena? You saw that movie all the time, right? And so the sun grows the food, the ants pick the food, and what? And the grasshoppers eat the food. Or molt, the hopper's little brother, come in, and the birds eat the grasshoppers. So you never remember that stuff you've seen, right? But so in that movie, grasshopper is described as a strong and big giant, right? But in reality, grasshoppers is not strong. All that they can do is hopping from one grass to another. So that's why their name comes from grasshoppers, right? And it's very weak. And when I was young, I don't know what that means. Because we didn't have much, in those days, food to eat, right? So we caught them and we fry them or eat them, right? But anyway, So when they started to see themselves as grasshoppers, how could they have courage to fight against those giants? Actually, they were not, weak losers. They were the leaders. They were elected from among the whole Israelites. So in old days, maybe modern days like today's, people like me, weak, not athlete, but I can be a leader, right? But in all days, I cannot be a leader. In those days, who is a leader? Strongest and biggest, right? Leaders. So the King Saul. You read the Bible. King Saul is not a small man. He was very tall. He's a big guy, right? And King David. We think that he's a boy, little boy. Maybe he was a little boy when he fought against Goliath. But he's also a big man too. He's a warrior. He was not just a king sit there and then command. He was in the front of the battle, right? Later he kind of just sit there and let his people fight. But at the very beginning. So in those days, were leaders are warriors. Later, we will see that Joshua and Caleb stood at the front of the battles and became the spearhead. Maybe you guys remember that one of my favorite Bible verses is that Caleb, when he's 80 years old, still, I'm going to be in the front. Just command me to conquer the land. Then I'll go and I'll take it. I know that God is with me, so I can do it. Right? But when they started to see themselves as grasshoppers, they started to complain about the land also. So verse 32, they said first, the land flows with milk and honey. But now they say, the land we explore devours those living in it. They start to say about bad things. Right? So on the other hand, Joshua and Caleb were different. They didn't see themselves as grasshoppers. Rather, they saw the Canaanites as food. As food. Numbers 14, chapter 14, verse 9. There, Caleb says, we will swallow them up. But I prefer Korean translation. In Korean translation, it says, 그들은 우리 밥이다. They are food. They are my, T-bone steak. I have never seen anybody who is afraid of steak because it is big. The bigger, the better. Right? So, what made such difference between these two groups? They saw exactly the same land. They saw the exactly same people. But their judgment was totally different. Totally opposite. So, the difference did not come from the situation. It came from within. The difference came from themselves, from their difference of self-image. The self-image is the opinion on ourselves. It is our thinking about ourselves. We all have some kinds of image of ourselves. That's a self-image. Such a self-image is affected by our appearance. So that's why plastic surgery is very popular nowadays. However, self-image is self-image, which means It is our own image that we draw. So it is affected mostly by our own self. So the reason why our self-image is so important is that it affects our future. The negative self-image creates negative future, while positive self-image creates positive future. So first, let's examine the characteristic of people with negative self-image and positive self-image first. So those who have negative self-image value themselves useless, worthless. So they think themselves small. While comparing with others, they easily fall into inferiority complex. So the 10 spies likened themselves to grasshoppers, my food, after comparing themselves with the Canaanites. They do not have self-confidence. So they are afraid of challenging new things. They fear change. Their language is, I cannot. So in verse 31, they say, we cannot, we can't attack those people. They're also good at giving excuses. So you think of who have negative self-image. They are good at complaining. They are good at blaming others, criticizing others. So in verse 32, they start criticizing the land. And later, they blame Moses. And also they blame God. But on the other hand, those with positive self-image respond positively to whatever situation they are in. First, they see things positively. They appreciate what God has already provided. They evaluate positively. Joshua and Caleb see the land not only good as it is, so flowing with milk and honey, but also they saw the land as God has already given to them. So they have self-confidence. So they are not afraid of anything, even big obstacles. Rather, they took it as a chance to grow, to develop challenge spirit. So it is as if good surfers welcome wild waves. Right? Good surfers, not me. I'm afraid of big, wild waves. But good surfers enjoy wild, huge waves. In reality, we grow big while we are going through the obstacles. So they are adventurous, forward-looking, and use the language of victory, the language of I can do it. So in verse 30, Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, so verse 30. He said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. And I don't know, when I prepare the sermon in English, I can grasp the nuance of the language. Because I read this one in Korean, 능히 이리라. Sure, certainly, we can certainly do it. But I can take it that strong nuance. 능히 이리라. We all, most of us here, have pictures that we seldom show others. It is usually in our wallet. What do you think it is?
Driver's
picture.
license.
Huh?
Driver's
Yeah.
license.
Yeah, just a picture. No driver's license. We do not want to show the pictures, that picture to others, since it usually comes out not good, right? We look like criminals there. So we don't want to show those pictures to others. Likewise, most of us do not want to show our inner self-image to others. You know why? Because it looks ugly. We mostly have negative self-image. So most people live with self-image of grasshoppers. In that picture, we are not pretty. We are not handsome. Except me. So, we fall all the time. We are losers. We have scars all over our body, all our soul. So when we see ourselves with such negative glasses, we are like that. But you know, God sees us different. God sees us different. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. Let's check it out. We have no time. Ephesians chapter 2. Verse 10. Let's read it together. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. Ready? Ready, go. For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. You know, the word workmanship here in Greek is poema. And it means God's work. Okay? The masterpiece. God's masterpiece. That means we are not merchandise. We are not goods to sell. So we are not for sale. We are not made for sale. So when you sell something, it should be nice. Right? You don't sell very ugly, and dirty, shoes to your friend. But we are His work, His masterpiece, work of art. And even God even says in Psalm chapter 2, verse 7, "You are my son. Today I have begotten you." I have begotten you. So you know what does that mean? At hospital, we can tell here there are a lot of babies and a lot of parents here. The numbers of parents. At hospital, the baby who just came out of the mother's womb is not that pretty. In most cases they are wiggly and also not many hairs. So they are ugly, right? But in her father's eyes, the baby is the most beautiful baby in the world. Why? Because she is his own baby. Psalm chapter 2 verse 7 means God sees us like that. God sees us as His own son, as His own daughter. So we are His begotten son and daughter. In us, we have Him. In us, God is. So Bible commands us to see ourselves with God's eyes, not anything else. We may look like losers. We might fall all the time. However, we are still God's children. We are His sons and daughters. So in us, God is. So Paul expresses it as follows. This time I'm going to read by myself. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6 through 9. So 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6 through 9. I'm going to read it. But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God, not from us. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body.
Amen.
When things by soul was the weak themselves alone. However, Joshua and Caleb could see God, who has been with them and who is also with them right there. Those who have positive self-image are few, unfortunately. Little ground. However, they are history makers. God entrusts them with the work to create new history. So we should throw away the self-image of grasshoppers. We should throw away the thinking of grasshoppers. And like Joshua and Caleb, we should obtain the self-image of spiritual giants, history makers. In order for us to do that, we could see ourselves through God's eyes. We should be able to see God, who is with us right now. When we can do that, we can win, no matter what kind of trials and barriers block us. They cannot block us, because God is much greater than them, much stronger than them. God is with us. We can shout as holy, I can do everything. But there is a condition. Through Him, through Jesus Christ, who gives me strength, we can do it. Let's pray. God our Father, our Creator, thank you so much for taking us, creating us with your image and as your children. We are weak, but you hold up tight and make us strong. Help us to have a positive self-image that we are yours. You are with us all the time. Because we are your sons and daughters. Let us follow you and let us become like you. And we know that you create us in your image. So in us, you are. Let us change the world. And let us be history maker according to your will as your children. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you for blessing us with this message. Just a few announcements. There's nothing new. We have college at 6 p.m. on college meetings at 6 p.m. on Fridays. Saturday, 7 a.m. prayer meetings, as well as a couple of special events coming up. World Communion Day, where we have joint worship with First Presbyterian, will be on Sunday, the first Sunday of October. And last Sunday of October will be our truck retreat. That's not a misspelling, but it's an event to sort of like our churches, or the three churches' way to have an event for the kids, and instead of Halloween. So keep that in mind. And after worship, after we're done with worship, we'll be having our fellowship at 102. Right? Thank you.
I have one more thing to add. Today will be last Sunday that Sally will be joining us before she goes to school. So I'd like to just invite Sally if she could come up front.